Welcome to week 8. I know I said there are only 8 weeks, we're going to add on just one more to wrap everything up, so stay tuned for next week. But we've already covered all of the building blocks. So we've covered carbohydrates, and your habit for carbohydrates was to get all of your carbohydrates from whole sources. So whole food sources such as whole grains, so quinoa, brown rice, potatoes, things like that. We talked about protein last week and getting your protein and figuring out how much you needed and how to incorporate that into your day. We've also talked about fiber in with the carbohydrates, really, really important for gut health. Then today we're going to be talking about fat. So knowing that fat does not make you fat, any of these building blocks in excess can be turned and converted into fat and then stored. So stop being afraid of fat. It's time to be done with fat phobia. But this week we're just going to talk about the couple different kinds. So I go really, really in depth in the article as usual about the different types and the different functions and different reasons why we need to have a balance of them all. So there's generally 3 different types of fats. We're just going to cover those 3. So unsaturated, saturated, and trans fats. You will find all of those functions in the article. I then go into omega-3s and omega-6s. So omega-3s and omega-6s are really important. We always talk about a balance in those two. So because we have more processed foods, there's more omega-6 fats in processed foods because they're cheap and easy, basically. So we eat a lot more processed foods, and that's the reason why so many health professionals are now telling us that we need to have more omega-3s in our diet. Omega-3s come from generally just fatty fish. So people do say that you can get them from other plant sources, but the conversion rate is really low. So I talk about that also in the article. But looking at this ratio, so if we have a lot of processed foods and we didn't really eat that much fatty fish, so that's gonna be like salmon, mackerel, herring, all of that. If we don't have this balance, then things kind of go wrong. So overall, this week we're just gonna talk about balance. So I want you to try to get little bit less saturated fat because we generally eat a good amount of saturated fat from animal products, from full fat dairy, all of that. So I want you to try to incorporate more whole plant versions of fats in your diet. So if you can try to find maybe switching out that butter or maybe switching out something else with maybe a couple nuts or something else to make sure you're getting in those good fats. You can also maybe throw on some avocado onto your meal, looking at it that way. So trying to find all of your fats from whole plant-based sources, or looking at if you can try to get some omega-3s in there. So maybe eating a couple servings of salmon or some fatty fish this week. So overall, I just want you to try to find a balance of them. I have a really nice infographic that talks about the types of, it basically puts it in a stoplight form. So green means go, yellow means sometimes, red means absolutely not. So for all of those absolutely nots, that means that's an absolutely not, hopefully for the rest of your life. Those things just mean that those fats are really, really hard on our body, really, really hard on our heart, really hard on our livers. So trying to eliminate those from our diet, and that basically means just eliminating a lot of the processed foods. Some of the ones that are sometimes fats, you'll see they're in yellow. Those are things you can incorporate sometimes, but maybe not every single day. The other ones that are in green are good to go, meaning you don't need to douse your food in them, but you need to have a little bit because, again, they are really important for absorbing those fat-soluble vitamins, your A, D, E, and K. So this week, looking at incorporating all of the greens, getting some of the yellows sometimes, and eliminating all of the reds. And as much as you can, getting them from the whole food source. So from fish, from nuts, from seeds, from eggs, from some meat, that's okay. Some animal sources are okay, but making sure it's in check and in balance with everything else. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be at the gym, as you know. Feel free to message me or anything like that. If you have any other questions about whether it's cardiovascular health or omega-3s, all of that, don't hesitate to reach out at all. And have a great week.